Joining us now on Sports Talk ATL, Mark Zinno. It's been a while, been too long. We're now 3 weeks into the season. We had a lot of optimism as Falcons fans coming into this season. I know you're not necessarily a Falcons fan,
No, but
but
I had optimism.
what are your thoughts about the first 3 weeks? Are you more optimistic about the same coming into the season, or a little more pessimistic?
No, I'm more optimistic than I was. I mean, look, they're right where I expected them to be. If they were 0-3, there might be cause for them to believe that things are off the rails here. But it's exactly what I said before the season started. If you're going to go 1-2 in the first 3 games, make the one against the conference opponent. Like, it's better that you lost to the 2 AFC teams and you beat the Eagles, because that tiebreaker may come in handy down the road, right? Like, it would have been nice to have beaten the Chiefs. But in reality, if I was going to be 1-2, I wouldn't have traded the Chiefs win for the Eagles loss. No way. So they're right where we thought they'd be. I mean, people got to remember, it's 3 weeks, okay? Like, you're not supposed to be the best version of yourself 3 weeks into the football season. I love Josh Allen. I love the Buffalo Bills. Even though I'm a Giants fan, I'm a huge Josh Allen. Like, they look great, right? But we've seen this from the Bills before, where they start out looking amazing, and then when we get to November, December, they don't look like the same team due to injuries, any coaching, whatever it is. You got time to play your best football here. You got through the toughest part of your schedule, and now you get through the toughest part too, which is playing 3 division games in the next 4 weeks. And look, if you lose 1 and you win 3, and you are 4-4, 4-3 at that time, 4-3 at that time, roses, all roses. Like, there's nothing bad about what's going on, because things are going to lighten up. I set the expectation pretty high, at least 10 wins, at least a division title. I think that's all still attainable. I'm not really worried. I think they're going to get better, and the offense is going to get better.
Yeah, one thing I want to allow yourself a moment to kind of pat yourself on the back here. Arthur Smith goes to Pittsburgh. Steelers 3-0. I know you're a big Arthur Smith truther. And he's doing what he did in Atlanta, right? Like, he's making the most out of what he's got, except he's got one of the best defenses.
Well, yeah, I was about to say he's not doing anything differently. The only difference is he might have the best defense playing opposite him.
Can somebody just get that poor man a quarterback like worth a stink, please?
He probably wanted Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. What you're going to give him the opportunity to pick a quarterback? We saw that for 3 years.
Dak Prescott for a year, and let me see what happens.
Let's talk about the man that replaced him, though, Zac Robinson. I think a lot of people kind of have varying opinions. I think he's gotten better week to week. I think the job that he had, especially once 2 of his starting offensive linemen going against a tough Chiefs defense, was a lot harder than I think people realize. And I thought he did some good things. The 4th and short call, the 3rd and short call late in the game. I think you can have your I think you can have your disagreements there. I definitely disagreed with them. But I think, what are your overall thoughts on the job that he's done, at least from what we saw in week 1, which is pretty much a disaster, to weeks 2 and 3?
Look, by the way, the idea that not one quarterback sneak was called there is just derelict coaching. Analytics, 86%, just call it. Oh, Kirk's keel can't push off. No center. It's 1 freaking yard. Okay?
Yeah, and it wasn't even an
86% conversion rate, because it's half of a yard to get. So just do it. Anyway, the fact they didn't call it, I shot at Raheem in Monday's press conference about it. I was more nice than I should have been, because he's a nice guy, and he, you know me, as much as I love being a little antagonistic, I don't want to piss the guy off this early. Get used to me annoying him first. But anyway, look, week 1, Zac Robinson had this affinity for the pistol shotgun thing that was an absolute utter failure. I don't know if that was because it was Pittsburgh's defense and how quick they get after it. Some people speculate it was because of the Achilles. Can we just get this out there real quick? Kirk Cousins' Achilles is fine. If it's not fine, then shame on this coaching staff for putting him out there at this point and doing this. The whole reason you drafted Penix, allegedly, was to have the next guy ready. So if this guy isn't ready, go put the next guy in there. Shame on the coaching staff. So I don't want to hear anything about Kirk's ankle. He's been dropping back. He's been planting off it. He's been throwing fine, right? Like, so I don't want to hear anything about his ankle anymore. So, or foot, Achilles, whatever. So I don't know why he went with that shotgun offense, that pistol offense way too much. And in the run game, it was an absolute failure against Pittsburgh. He changed it in week 2 I think we saw the dividends. We saw some more dividends of it in week 3. I think at times he's been a little predictable. I kind of like the Darnell Mooney wrinkle that came in there. I will still maintain, and I was on radio in Louisiana and New Orleans yesterday.
Ooh.
They were asking me about a player to look out for in the game, and I said, look, we can all pretty much agree that drafting Kyle Pitts at 4 was one of the dumber decisions the Falcons have ever made. Doesn't mean he's a bad player, because he's not a bad player, but taking him at 4 was a bad decision. That said,
that's your boy Arthur Smith.
This is a guy. That's not happening. I'm not doing that. Okay.
All right, keep going. I'm just anyway. Keep going.
That said, what we saw in that 50-yard pass to Pitts is, I think, what we're going to start to see more of. Right? Because Drake is starting to be a target you have to account for. But they're starting to see Bijan out of the backfield as a problem. Right? And now you're adding Darnell Mooney into the thing and sort of the jet sweeps and the wide receiver screens that he's running. You're going to get Kyle matched up one-on-one, and he's got to win 9 out of 10 of those, and I think he can. And so we saw what Cousins can do with TJ Hawkinson in Minnesota. That's going to start to develop over the course of weeks. That's the guy that I look out for this week to be the guy that really, all of a sudden, we start feeling good about Kyle Pitts being in a Falcons uniform.
Yeah, that's far. I think, you can't really say Zac Robinson has lived up to the billing. I mean, that's just rose-colored glasses crap. Sure. We could call it
scoring points. That's the problem.
He hasn't been good enough. With that, circumstances matter. New offense, new quarterback, first-time play caller. All those things do matter. What I think is important is he is improving week to week. Now, the bill of goods that we were sold in the offseason in terms of this guy is the next Shanahan, Slowick, the next guy. He hasn't lived up to that potential. And I think, the Saints is not a very good opponent to kind of get right against. That defense is nasty, always has been nasty with Dennis Allen. They've got a lot. And if Caleb McGarry is also out, we know Drew Dahlman's out. He's out for 3 division games and that Seahawks game at least, which is another conference game. Like you're pointing out, conference games do matter. We might be battling for a wild card. Hopefully it's not. These games are important. Caleb McGarry playing, I know he gets a lot of flack from Falcons fans, but he is infinitely better than what the Falcons have backing him up. So, Zac Robinson, Kirk Cousins, Kyle Pitts, this entire offense starting to get better and better. Steelers defense, one of the best in the league. Chiefs defense, criminally underrated, one of the better defenses in the league. And it's not going to get any easier against the Saints, also one of the better defenses in the league.
Yeah, again, I think actually the depth at the offensive line isn't as bad as people give it credit for, given the scheme that they run. Look at
Jesus, buddy.
Look at your face. Apoplectic. Look, we're going to find out. I mean, I could be wrong on that. You mean, right? I mean, Alex, I could be incredibly wrong on it. I don't know the answer to that yet, but I trust the scheme and I trust the guys in the scheme. And that was the other thing about, Drew Dahlman not being there is the reason we didn't run a QB sneak. Stop. Puke. It's a half a yard. Anyway, so
I think it was more about the snap exchange, not the half yard.
I don't care. Like, honestly,
frankly, I would have rather fumbled the snap than seen Bijan Robinson in that gimmicky little play.
I didn't have a problem
that they had already run earlier in the game. I think it was the first time.
When you need to get 1.5 feet forward, why are you running 12 yards to the sideline first? Do a damn dive.
All right, can you admit this? If it was executed, he would have got the first down.
Well, apparently, if Tyler Algier makes the block, he might have got the first down. I'll tell you this.
If they executed the play, they would have got the first down.
The other acceptable play call in that spot for me, okay?
Algier going downhill.
No, well, fake to Algier going downhill, and then get that unicorn guy that you drafted 4th overall leaking out against a linebacker who can't cover him and a little over the top, because isn't that why?
So you're talking about quarterback sneaks 1 yard, and now you're getting cute with these play calls.
No, play action is absolutely acceptable.
Mark, I wanted the play action naked boot. I was up in the 300s, like naked boot. They never saw it with Manning. They'll never see it with Cousins. They'll never see it coming.
That's true.
Hey, I got one final thing, and I think this is the biggest thing that if you've watched the Falcons games, it's impossible not to notice it. Are we ever going to have a pass rush? I mean, you get Matthew Judon, right? You expect him to come in. And listen, people want to talk about Matthew Judon being a Pro Bowler and all this. He's not a Myles Garrett or anything like that. We knew that coming in. No. But at the same time, 3 sacks in 3 games, pretty much last or second to last in every pressure category. And if you watch the games, man, Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, it doesn't matter who's playing quarterback, all freaking day to throw. I mean, nothing has changed in this pass rush. If anything, it's looked worse.
I got to tell you, I mean, at this rate, where they are, okay, through the first 3 games, against 2 decent passing teams in Philadelphia and in Kansas City, still top 10 in passing yards game allowed. Like their secondary.
I think that's what's so amazing. I think that's what's so amazing. Without
they're bottom 10 in rush defense.
Yep.
So, like, this game in particular, okay, where, it could just be a heavy dose of Kamara, and all the deep shots that we saw New Orleans take a couple of weeks ago, that could be neutralized. And you're right. Forget about the sacks. They're bottom of the league. I think they're bottom 5 in pass rush win rate. And that's a problem because if you're not affecting Derek Carr, there's going to be an issue with him having time in this thing. And so, yeah, there are concerns there. I know the fans get hung up on the sack numbers. I'm not too hung up on the sack numbers. The pass rush win rate is a little bit disconcerting, but they're not allowing big chunk plays in the passing game.
Well,
and that's making teams one-dimensional to a certain extent. They got to stop the run better.
Yeah, I mean,
the entire defensive line's got to be better.
This secondary is insane. Mike Hughes, I know D. Alfred got picked on a little bit in the Chiefs game, but Mike Hughes has been a revelation. He's not, an all-pro by any means, but he's way better than I thought he was going to be. I thought we were going to be calling for his job. Why did Terry not go get a starting cornerback type stuff? He's been more than fine. Opposite of AJ Terrell, safety duo, best safety duo in the league. Justin Simmons, they give Jimmy Lake so much freedom below them to do everything that they do. Getting Nate Landman back, I think, is going to be big for the pass rush, because it allows Caden Ellis to start rushing the pass.
One thing about this game, the Saints are also on their backup center, who is bad.
And Cesar Ruiz could be out. Yeah, they're going to be limited up
this
there.
Should be a Grady Jarrett disruption game.
Yeah.
Write that down. Tell everybody I said it first. It should be a Grady Jarrett disruption game. He should be a guy that is breaking things down through the middle and forcing Carr to roll left or right and creating some havoc that way. If that happens, I love the Falcons' chances.
Yeah, I mean, Derek Carr has been very good in that system thus far, but it's the system that is working perfectly. They're running the ball, so they're keeping the defenses, talk about Carolina and Dallas, not Philly. They're keeping the defense honest. Derek Carr's got all the time in the world to throw the football, and that's where Derek Carr thrives. If you just touch Derek Carr, he's the worst quarterback in the league. That guy cannot throw under pressure, and if he's got to play somewhat out of the system, he's a bad quarterback. So that's all the Falcons really got to do.
By the way, you want to hear some torture for Saints fans because this is funny to me? Like, Clint Kubiak is going to save Dennis Allen's job for another year. They're going to have that pitiful head coach for another year because they may make the playoffs if the offense is legit. No, I still think the Saints offense is a little fugazi.
I couldn't
agree more. The first 2 weeks were a little bit of an aberration, more of a reflection of the Panthers and the Cowboys defense not being any good and their lack of preparation against the Saints than anything else. That said, I find it kind of comical that Dennis Allen, comical and sad at the same time that Dennis Allen's going to get to hang around for another year as a head coach when he's got awful out of it. Like, people in New Orleans are going, can we switch? Can we make Kubiak the head coach and Allen the defensive coordinator?
That's what the Falcons should have done with Shanahan,
there was that idea.
Yeah, hey, people floated that around when it was happening, and everyone was like, you're crazy. Now, hey, wasn't a grad. Hey, Mark, always good to have you on the show. Looking forward to having you on next week, hopefully after a Falcons win.
Gentlemen, you're the best. Thank you.